Hi, welcome back to Life Science with Mrs. Miller. We've been checking out Chapter 8, which is the animals section. Now we're going to be looking at Section 4, arthropods and echinoderms. What we want to be able to do is list the features used to classify arthropods, explain how the structure of the exoskeleton relates to its function, and identify some features of echinoderms. So, arthropods. In general, there's more than 1 million species of arthropods. Now, they're the largest and most diverse group of animals. And what arthropod means is jointed foot. Arthro meaning joint and pod meaning foot. So obviously they have some jointed appendages, including claws, legs, and antennae. Now, they all have exoskeletons and require molting, and they all have bilateral symmetry, meaning bi meaning two, lateral meaning side. So if I cut this beautiful butterfly down the center, we're going to have mirror images. Now, insects are the largest group of arthropods. There's over 700,000 species, but in order to classify it as an insect, you have to have some qualifications. The first is that you have 3 body regions: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. You also have some sensory organs, including the eyes and antennae. In your abdomen, it must be segmented and house reproductive organs. That means they must be there. Your thorax is always going to have 3 pairs of legs that are jointed and 1 or 2 pairs of wings that will cover your abdomen. Although the wings, not always, as seen in this ant that is an insect. Okay, now let's look at the circulatory system and metamorphosis of arthropods. Now, insects all have an open circulatory system. No veins and veins and arteries here. Now, they have a metamorphosis. Well, that means there's a change in body form. There's 2 types of metamorphosis, complete and incomplete. Complete has 4 stages, as this fly, and incomplete has 3. So the complete stage would be adult, shown here, eggs, larva, and pupa, and then back to adult. The incomplete basically is more like lice, where they have an egg, a nymph, and adult. The nymph basically looks like a miniature adult. Now, arachnids. These are spiders, ticks, scorpions, and mites. Now, they only have 2 body regions, that cephalothorax and the abdomen. A cephalothorax, head and mid part, are fused together. Now, all 4 legs, or all 4 pairs of legs, are attached to that cephalothorax. They're almost all going to be predators, but those spiders also have fangs to add to that predation. Now coming to the part that I hate the most, the centipedes and millipedes. These are long, thin, segmented type of animals. They have 1 pair of jointed legs per segment, and that would be a centipede. Millipedes have 2 pairs of legs per jointed segment. Now, centipedes are predators and are always poisonous. Very nasty things if they bite you. Millipedes only eat plants. Now let's move on to crustaceans. This is the largest physically of all arthropods. They have huge, large exoskeletons that are great for protecting them, but they usually require them to be marine animals like zooplankton, simply because outside of water, those exoskeletons are so huge and bulky, it actually prevents them from being effective. Now, you'll always see crustaceans with 2 pairs of antennae, 3 pairs of chewing appendages, and 5 pairs of legs. Now, these will include crabs, crayfish, lobsters, shrimp, barnacles, water fleas, and sow bugs. Alright, let's move on to echinoderms. Echino meaning spiny, derm meaning skin. So these are going to include sea stars, sea urchins, brittle stars, sand dollars, and sea cucumbers. All of them are going to have radial symmetry, meaning that I can cut them any way down the center and they're going to look the same on the other side. They may be predators or filter feeders, or they can even be decomposers. They're all going to have an internal skeleton with bony-like plates, and they have a simple nervous system, requiring no head or brain. Now, let's look at their water vascular systems. So, what they do is they have a network of these water-filled canals, and there's about 1,000 feet of tube going on in one little sea star. Now, the sea star is particularly really interesting because if you cut off a piece, they can regenerate that damaged part. Now, at one point, sea stars invaded some oyster fields, and so the oyster farmers cut them up, or cut the sea stars up to saved their oyster beds, but it only created more sea stars and a lot more problems. And if you notice, sea stars have a very complicated looking body structure. Now, the most important part is that they have this radial disc, or central disc. They do have a stomach and an anus. They have digestive glands along these arms. And they have this wonderful radial nerve that comes down each of these arms. Now, one final listening check. Take a pause, write these down in your notebooks, and we will see you in class. Write down any questions you have. Thank you.